welcome again. In this episode I would like to talk about what you can expect when you disassemble your bike and in terms of rust. If your bike is as old as mine, then I think it's worthwhile. So I'm going to quickly go over the areas that I found to be the biggest culprits. I'm going to tick them off quickly and progress on to something else. So starting from the back, the rear brake rod. It doesn't really rust too much, but it looks absolutely ugly. So I've repainted everything black. That bit, the brake hood stop is whatever the proper name for it is. That's very prone to rusting as well because it's the closest to the tire, so it gets splattered continuously. The back of the frame here, same, following this area here. This, strangely enough, is not too bad. It's worth checking it from the bottom. The back of the suspension here, it was fairly alright on mine. It's worth checking the nooks and crannies. The mounting point for the shaft tunnel, worth checking as well. I got some rubs, chips here and there because I have the chrome cover, which I'm not going to put on anymore. So I need to repaint some of that stuff here. Those areas here, that's normally quite bad. So basically, normally you can't look at it, but once you take everything off, all the back sides of everything that you have from the front, that's normally very rusty as well. That bit with the holder for the battery and the frame brace, or whatever you call it, from underneath, that can get really rusty. From the top, not so much. Again, on this side, check the inside from this area here. Going up from those brackets here, check from below as well. That area where you have the welds get really nasty as well. The frame itself, it doesn't get as battered as the front of the frame, but still from underneath, if you'll inspect it, you'll probably find some chips and some rust on it as well. The cross frame here, that gets knackered. The one below here, straight on the suspension, that's the one of the two that gets hit the most. I can't actually do it up now while it's on the lift, so I'll be doing that once the bike is assembled back and actually standing on its own. Going higher, you might have some chips on the frame here. That area gets rusty as well as a little bit. The fuse box, the fuse holder inside it can get really rusty as well. So let's move up. Right, so you'll probably want to have a look at the frame as it goes along here. Normally you will get scratches and chips. In this area over here, it's probably from the fuel tank, not probably, most likely. The area of the neck over here always seem to be holding up really nicely, but since you have everything off, it's worth checking as well. Those areas over here might get knackered, and as the lower you go with the frame, the worse it gets. And now that's something I normally don't do, freehanding a camera, but I really wanted to show you. The front of the frame, this area here, that's where you'll get most of the damage, and I've already cleaned this one, painted it with Hammerite direct on rust, and on top of that what I'm using is the underbody seal from Hammerite as well. It has like a rubbery texture, doesn't really dry out at any time, so it stays rubbery, and it seemed to be working fairly well, although after a whole season of riding it got knackered as well, and the rust was everything was chipped away and the rust was progressing. So I've done it up again. So it's a seasonal thing to do. Just out of interest, don't buy a chrome oil filter. It gets mucky, it looks horrible, and it rusts. I'll show you. I wonder if you can see on the here. All of that is starting to rust. So, following up from that, your brake slash floorboard or peg assembly, that gets normally knackered from underneath as well. That's worth painting, all of that, and of course the whole frame along the way. And the rest of it does not seem so bad. So let's have a look at what I have painted separately after taking off the bike. So there you have it, little bits and pieces. The fake swing arm, the exhaust mount. No idea where the original one is in this mess. The spacers from inside of the shocks, the rear wheel spacer, these two fellas as well from the front brake. You'll probably have different ones. You won't have those spacers if you don't have the cover. With rear wheel nut, rear wheel spacer. Well, but mind you, it's not painted on sides. It's just, well, not painted on top and bottom. It's just the sides that I was after, because you can't see that anyway. The rear brake assembly, so the spring, the nut, the and this little fella as well with the washer. That's all nice and black now, because that gets really knackered if you leave it for too long. The front fender brace, all nicely cleaned and painted as well. The back could use some work as well, most likely, but just can't be asked to take it out. The shaft drive chrome cover, painted from the inside as well. The front brake chrome cover, painted from the inside as well. And I have done the exact same thing with the inside of the headlight as well, which is something I definitely recommend you to do as well. Take the headlight apart. It is just 2 screws on the sides. Slide it out. Have a look inside. It, apart from a jungle of cables, you will probably spot that there is an awful lot of rust there if you've never looked in. It's a very common spot for rust. And I think that's it, really. It's you know, you have to go, you have to just have a look at your bike and go over every single area and see what you're presented with, and then just deal with it on a regular basis, and you should be fine in terms of keeping the Uncle Rust in check. Right, I think moving on. Let's do something else now. Right then, something new, something exciting. Let's replace the spark plugs. So there are 2 spark plugs. One is on the left hand side, you have it on the rear cylinder. On the front, you have it on the right hand side, you have it on the front cylinder. Let's move that out of the way. This is taking the spark plugs out is very, very simple. Just need to pull the cable out first. There you go. Move that aside. And you need a key for the spark plugs. slide it in, and I think everybody will say that you should exercise caution with the spark plugs. I just need to shift it first, and then they unscrew very easily. And you know when they are fully unscrewed, when you look through the key and they flop to one side. And if you have a similar key, it's very easy to take them out. That's the trick. You take the flat bit, you slide it inside, and you prop it up against the spark plug, and you just gently pull everything out, and you pull it out with the spark plug inside. Job done. Now, straight away we can have a look at it, and it seems to be burning. It's a bit fouled up, but it seems to be burning fairly alright. There's a bit of residue. Well, that's fouled up, but the top looks top looks fairly decent. Now I've already loosened up the other one, so I'm just gonna take the other one out as well. That's out, and this one is in a much worse state. This one ain't so pretty. Right. So, well, the culprit was the exhaust, of course, like I've mentioned before. Running a very large diameter straight through exhaust without any rejetting. Does not doesn't do the spark plugs any good. So I got the new ones, DPR7EA9. Hold on, that's the wrong packet. Where are the new ones? These are the new ones. So just a slight difference. Yeah. So before we put the new spark plugs in, we just need to make sure that the gap is actually appropriate. We have the thickness gauge here. The instructions say that the gap should be between 0.8 and 0.9 of millimeter. I got over here, I got 3 of the blades selected to a total of 0.85. Just gonna have a look whether it actually fits inside. It doesn't. Okay, I'm gonna select a little less than that. 33. So 8, not 8.3. Doesn't. Does it meet the bare minimum at least? 0.8. Let's have a look if I can make 0.8. 50. 50. Let's try 78. Is that fitting in? So that is fitting in, 78. but it's tight, so I should make the gap a little bit wider. And like everything DIY, I don't have the appropriate tool, so I'm gonna just use these and bend it outwards just a tad. Check it with the gauge again. So we got 30, 50, 50, 50, 50, 85. Let's have a look at 85. 85 comes in now with just a teeny weeny bit of slack. So I'm gonna bring it in, and you just basically push it in against something hard. Nothing. I know it's terrible, but it works. Slightly more. So let's have a look again. You probably can't see anything on the screen. Great. Just gonna push it against the metal. Try again. Push it against the metal. Try again. Let's see, now it's too much. I'm going to bend it out again a little bit. Somebody's going to shoot me for that method, but that's all I have. Just trying to make it work. There you go, so I got 0.85 just about sliding in. I'm going to leave that on, like that. Going to do the same with the other one. So, and this one actually is just about fitting. So this one is 0.85 already from the box. So when you get the fresh ones, don't just assume that they will be correct. And we're ready to put them back in. Of course, putting them back in is more difficult. Well, a little bit. I should be right with this tool of mine. So, plunk it in, lock it in place by using this. See, so it's not falling out. And just guide it in gently. Unscrew, well, make a few counterclockwise turns before you start turning it back in clockwise. So that's in, and I can't move it any further by hand. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tighten it up by hand as well without using the torque wrench. Just align that nicely so I can actually grab it. No. It's a difficult one in terms of the axis here. and because they are fresh ones, we're gonna tighten. Let me just double check. We're gonna tighten them up by either a quarter turn or half a turn. Let me just have a look. Got the instructions ready. Can never remember what it is. So what it does say is to tighten it back up to 11 Newton meters. Well, I can do bugger all in terms of torquing it up properly, because I don't have a key that would fit in here and attach to my torque wrench, so I'm going to do what I was always doing, is just to rotate it by at least quarter of a turn. 11 Newton meters is quite a bit, so it's going to go a bit more. The key to that is, God forbid you thread these, because it goes directly into the cylinder. Alright, put the cable back on and push it in until it clicks, or crunches in this instance, and that's your spark plug installed. I'm going to do the same on the other side now. Quarter turn in. Squeeze the cable back in. Crunch. That's your spark plugs done.